which means usually Coronet Peak is already open. I know that Mount Ruapehu is open as well.
Just the
small,
lower,
yeah. But that's the same for all ski fields at this time of the year. Only like literally the lowest parts and a few trails are open at the most. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Not really a good
Hey
time.
guys, hey, how are you guys doing today? I hope that you are having a wonderful day. Thank you very much for joining us for other awesome live sessions where we're going to be taking your questions and answering them for you so you can plan the best trip possible to New Zealand.
Yeah, and if you are meeting us for the first time, this right here with the blue beanie is Robin. This thing right here. And I am Laura, and together we're the team behind backpackerguide.nz, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. It's online, it's 100% free, and it's basically your Bible to everything about traveling in New Zealand. But if you can't really be bothered to read any of the stuff that we have on that website, then every single Sunday we do this live Q&A session for you guys, so you can come onto the live chat and ask your questions. So just to give you an overview of what time that is around the world. So that is on a Saturday in the US, 4 p.m. EST, 12 p.m. PST, or a Saturday in Europe on an evening. In the UK, it's 9 p.m. or in France, it's 10 p.m. And in India, that is on a Sunday morning at 1:30 a.m. And like I said, New Zealand, Sunday, 8 a.m. So yeah, throughout the week, we also take questions through our various social media channels so that we can go through some of those questions during this session right now. So if you guys do have any questions throughout the week, make sure that you put them in the comments section of any of our videos on YouTube. You can also send us questions straight to us on Facebook by just searching backpackerguide.nz or backpackerguide.nz. And on Instagram, you can send us a message at backpackerguide.nz. And on Twitter, you can give us a mention at BPK Guide.
Whew, that was a long one. All right, cool. So we are going to be going over quite a lot of questions today because we did receive a lot of questions on our social media. But before that, we thought we'd get started with a question that was asked in this very live chat right here. So you guys can say hi and ask us a question live right now. And that was asked a couple of weeks ago, and sadly that was asked at the end of our live session, so we didn't have the time to go through that. So we may just get started with something like that. But beforehand, we're going to say hello to Tolga. Hello, Tolga. Hey. How are you doing? He said, hello, guys. My question is, if we get a 6-month English course, will we have a full-time working permit after the course finishes? It depends on your visa. So when you get a study visa in New Zealand, there are some very clear laid out conditions on your visa, and it really depends on what you're studying and all of that. So once you get your visa, it's going to be written on the visa. It is very different for every single person, so I won't be able to tell you for you what is it. But usually what it does is that it allows you to apply for work visa after work or afterwards and a work permit. So you may have to do a bit more paperwork. But it will really depend on your particular case and your particular visa. So make sure you read all the little fine prints. It's not fun. There's a lot of little lines when you get a visa, but you just go through that and you will have all the answers to all your questions. Plus, on top of that, once you get your visa, you get a case number, which is basically what you are using to follow all your applications and everything with Immigration New Zealand. So that makes it much easier for when you're calling them and when you're actually asking questions to them. You just give them your case number and they follow through and they tell you exactly what you can and cannot do. So yeah, here you go. Aside from that, well, it really depends on what your own visa is. I hope that helps, man. Or woman, I don't know. Tall guy. Are you a man or are you a woman? What do you think? I like tall guys. I think a man's name. I'm not sure. All right, cool. So let's get started with the last questions we got. So then on the live chat, we didn't have the time to answer it last time. So I wrote it down, and as promised, Shravan is asking, I would like to know how you guys started your initial days in New Zealand. All right, so I think Laura and I really had different experiences in New Zealand, and that dates a few years back, which is quite interesting. But do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, you go first.
All right. So I arrived in New Zealand on my little own, and I checked myself in a hostel in Auckland. After about like a couple of days, just exploring the city, taking some time to enjoy myself a little bit, because I always believe that when you arrive somewhere, you need to kind of visit and experience the place a little bit. I went to the bank and I opened a bank account because I was on a working holiday visa. So working holiday visa did allow me to work and travel in New Zealand for 1 year. It's available for citizens from 42 different countries. So if you want to know more about that, you can check on backpackerguide.nz or on the link below that we're going to be putting with all the information about that. Now, so on by day 3, I opened the bank account that allowed me to then apply for an IRD number, which is kind of a tax number here in New Zealand. Once I had all of that, I was ready to look for some work. Now, I was a little bit foolish, and I thought it would be like, the easy breezy things to just work in Auckland, be able to save some money. But the fact is that in Auckland, life is very expensive and jobs just all pay minimum wage. So I did work a little bit in Auckland, but I really didn't save that much money. So that wasn't that great. But yeah, I started walking around the city with my CVs. I actually targeted different suburbs of Auckland, not the Auckland CBD, which is the city center. I looked at kind of where were the most commercial suburbs, and I used to work in shops before, so as a shop attendant, so I knew I had this experience. So I went to a suburb called Newmarket, and actually I got a job there in the store. And yeah, that's basically how it worked. I got a job within about like 3 days only, but I had to wait to get my IRD number sorted to be able to start working. But that gave me peace of mind to be able to explore the city. But looking back at it, I will definitely change the way I do things. I will actually, rather than spending like 2 days kind of exploring Auckland, I would actually hop on the bus and go to a different towns like Tauranga or Rotorua. And this is where I will go to open my bank account, do the IRD number, and also look for work. I feel it will have made the whole process much easier. It kind of sounds really easy the way I'm saying, oh, this is just what I did. But it was, I had to go to 3 different banks to be able to get an appointment, to get the IRD number. And yeah, I really felt like I didn't save any money for afterwards. So after a few months, I actually left Auckland and I went to work somewhere else to be able to, to save money and start traveling around New Zealand. So yeah, if there is a lesson to learn from what I've done, is like, don't do what I've just done, but maybe just go and work outside of Auckland. You're gonna have a much better time. Every single time I was working outside of Auckland, I saved more, I spent less, I earned more as well, and I got to explore New Zealand more, because Auckland is quite hard to get out of. There's some big highway and everything, but it's far from all the places that you want to visit. While places like Rotorua, it's only like an hour here and there, and you get to visit a lot of places. Like an hour out of Auckland, you are still around Auckland and in traffic, basically. So it's very, very different. So yeah, that was basically how I got started. Very simple. Also, for my first couple of days, I actually got a phone number as well. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was pretty easy because I actually arrived also in New Zealand on a working holiday, but I used one of these sort of working holiday arrival packs where basically someone helps you sort of set up your life for a working holiday in New Zealand. So with this, I was able to open up a bank account really easily. I got help getting an IRD number. Basically, those sort of programs just sort of have everything lined up for you, ready to just go through the process, so you don't have to sort of figure it out yourself. Which, in retrospect, I think it's like we like, even what we do on backpackerguide.nz right now is we have all this information to help you guys do those things alone. But at the time, there wasn't backpackerguide.nz. So yeah, it just felt like it was the easiest way to get some guidance doing that when I first arrived. And there are a lot of those arrival packs still around, so they're worth considering. So yeah, when I arrived and I got myself all set up for my working holiday and my bank account as well, that was all in Auckland. Before, I think I was in Auckland for about a week or two. And I spent some time actually in Auckland, sort of going to Rangitoto Island, making sure that I actually do some actual travel-y type stuff while I'm there, because I felt like the working holiday, it's not just all about working. It's also, it's there to really sort of immerse yourself in a whole different country and do some really awesome travel experiences. So I made sure I had a good balance of that on my first week in Auckland before I actually left Auckland pretty early on, and then made my way down on, I think it was on the Kiwi Experience bus. So that's like one of those bus tours in New Zealand.
The big green one, right?
The big green one. And I went down to Queenstown, and it was in Queenstown actually where I ended up getting a job for the winter season. So I had made sure that I did have plenty of travel time at the beginning of my working holiday and making sure that I actually find a good place to sort of settle down for work later on. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah, and so you find that it just made it really easy and just a breeze for you to do this.
Yeah, for the arrival.
Back, yeah.
Yeah. It definitely relieves the stress if you are, because I was traveling alone for the first time and actually, working in a different country for the first time, which I know Robin actually had done himself actually in a few different countries before arriving in New Zealand.
But I definitely didn't have the stress. I was like, it's just another.
I do this all the time.
Just another week, another country. No, that makes sense,
but if you guys do need any more tips on what to do for your first week in New Zealand, we do have an article on backpackerguide.nz, which is literally just that. It's an article which is the complete guide to your first week in New Zealand. So we will make sure we add the link in the description below.
Yeah, so now basically we've done all the homeworks for you guys. So, we didn't have those kind of helps when we arrived since, we didn't create the site just yet. So yeah, quite handy in that way.
Yeah.
All right, if you did find this video useful, like and subscribe. It always helps us out a lot. And check out in the comments below for all the links that are relevant to what we just talked about.
Or more like in the description below.
Yes, that's true. That's true. All right, let's check the live chat. So Dion Van Duin asks, does a foreigner need at least 2 years of driving experience in order to drive in New Zealand? Not that I'm aware of. I think
you need obviously a full driver's license. If your driver's license is not in English, then you will need to have your driver's license with an international driving permit. But if your driving license is in English, then that's literally all you need is your English driving license.
But if you're still a learner back in your country, that's not a full driving license. So then at that point, that doesn't work. But as long as you do have a full driving license, it works very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Dion. If you have any follow-up, go for it in the live chat. Now we have the side of Viral, which is going literally through the entire lyrics of Bohemian Rhapsody. In text, it's not that great. It just doesn't. I wish I could hear you sing a little bit right here, but that's okay. Tolga says, thanks for the response. He will come with a working holiday visa, but his girlfriend will be a student. They're coming at the beginning of September. Nice one. You're avoiding the winter, I can see. That's good. Hope to meet and maybe grab a coffee with you guys. He's male. He's from Turkey. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
No worries. Hit us up on Facebook or something like that when you know where you're going to be and when you're going to be. And we'll see if we are around. We're always moving around the country. So we very rarely meet in Auckland. We meet everywhere else. But then we have GSM K2 say, hi, I'm a student and I want to do a master in environment. Do you think it is possible for a foreigner to settle in New Zealand for study, I guess, because that's étudier, that's a French word for studying, or for job in environments? I come from France. First, bonjour. Second, is it possible to settle in New Zealand? Yes, we've done it. It is. You probably will have to kind of come and study here and do all the paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork to go with getting visas and everything like that. So it takes a long time. We can't advise on visa. In New Zealand, you have to actually be a registered immigration advisor to be able to give immigration advice. So we can't do that. But is it possible? Yes, it definitely is. We've immigrated here. Laura is from the UK and I'm from France, and we both came here in New Zealand. So yes, it is possible. That after, it will depend on every cases and everything like that. Then we have Wesley Gibson that says, hey, both of you. Hey.
Hey.
First of all, thank you for all the advice. It's very useful for newcomers in New Zealand. You're very welcome. I'm going to soon in the South Island for 2 years as international volunteer. I'd like to cook and use chef knives. My question is, can I bring my knife in my checked luggage because it has a wooden handle, and the New Zealand custom rules are very strict about wooden items. Florent, I think his name is French as well.
Cool.
All right, so yes, there are some very strict rules on that. It probably will have to be treated wood. You will have to declare it, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely declare it. For those sort of items, like for instance, I've brought a wooden hairbrush into New Zealand, which I know it's still made out of wood, but it is usually those sort of items, like your knife, probably will be treated wood, and chances are it is gonna pass through customs without without a problem. But just make sure that you declare it and actually ask, like, hey, I've got these, chef knives with a wooden handle. Is that okay? And they'll probably just smile and nod and make you go on your way. So I really wouldn't worry too much about that. Just remember to declare it.
Yeah, as long as you declare it, you'll be fine. Because even if you declare it and you shouldn't have brought it in, because you declare it, you don't get a fine. But if you don't declare it and you shouldn't have done it, then on top of it, you need to surrender them. You have a fine, and it's just a terrible start to your trip. So may as well just get start correctly and just be like, okay, well, I have those knives. They have a wooden handle. To be fair, like wooden handle of knives, they're probably treated and over-treated and over-treated, because they have to be dishwasher safe and all those kind of things. So you should be okay, but it's just always good to just declare it.
Yeah.
All right. The side of Ireland asks us, what do we think about Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody? Well, it is a song which is being played a lot.
It's been an overplayed song for many, many years.
There you go. That's our take on that. Just KQ say, cool, thank you a lot. Oh, he's blowing us a little kiss. Oh, nice.
I feel sorry for anyone who had to just watch that.
Yeah, well, then he also asked, or he or she actually, JSM, are you male or female? We like to know who we're talking to, because we have to use the right pronoun. Do you go in New Zealand for work in the first time or for discover the country? So I went to New Zealand before I actually came on a working holiday visa. So I was doing a working holiday visa in Australia. And I hopped over across the ditch, which a lot of people do. And I did a bit of a road trip around New Zealand. And I saw the country was really awesome. And then I kept on traveling around the world. I went to different places. But I really did like New Zealand. So then I came back afterwards on a working holiday visa. So I kind of already had a bit of a taste of the country before coming here for the 1 year gap year. And then after my 1 year gap year, I did really like it. So I decided to stay around.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I also came on a working holiday visa. So I wanted to mainly travel New Zealand. I wanted to see the amazing landscapes and stuff like that. But also work was more just to help me fund my travels more while I was here, just so I could see more of the country for a longer time and also get to sort of just get some life experience in a different country. So I didn't come here with the mindset of like, oh, I just want to work. But I'm definitely pleased with the way that I did it, and it just happened to be a country that I fell in love with, so I stayed here longer. It just sort of happened by chance, really. So, but initially came here to see this amazing place. Yeah,
I hope that answered your question, GSM. Yeah. All right, Dion Van Duin says, have you met any backpackers that are 18 years old? Yes, a lot. Yeah, a lot. Yeah. A lot of Germans actually are traveling really young, but I mean, the younger the better. Backpacking is a young man's game. To be honest, my first trip was when I was 18 years old, and I think it's quite important to travel as soon as you can, basically. So there will be no problem if you are feeling like you may be a little bit too young and everything, and that's not an issue at all. We met a lot of young people.
Yeah, definitely. But we both have, and there's people you meet people from all ages really when backpacking. There's people you even like in their 30s. Yeah. There's people that are 18 or around their mid-20s and stuff. So you'll meet people of all different ages, and you realize more and more as you're traveling, age really doesn't matter. Like no one thinks anything different of you because of your age. Yeah.
And even when we're on the road or when we go for like some trips and everything like that, when we go for some trips and we get people to join us and everything like that, you always have people from every kind of age range. We always have some people like 18 years old, some people which are like 32 years old. It's fine. It just doesn't matter. But are you calling us old, Diane? Are you basically saying that we are not 18 years old? I mean, maybe we're 18. You don't know that.
Robin, look at your face. Look at that stubble on your face. That's clearly been there for years. Anyway.
Wow. You're evil. The side of Ireland asked if you watched the World Cup 2019 cricket. So
absolutely not.
We do not understand cricket. We tried multiple times because cricket is actually a big sport here in New Zealand. They do really like cricket. They like rugby and they like cricket. But we don't understand cricket whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just personally, I don't really like sports.
And I don't like anything I don't understand. So why does it take that long? Why is there 3 sticks?
Why not 4?
Why are you clapping when a guy missed the ball? I want him to hit the ball. Anyway, so many things to ask about cricket. So Okay, Chintaka is asking, what are the best entrepreneurship in New Zealand?
Well, if we knew that, we would be rolling in money right now.
Yeah. There's plenty of different industry which are fast growing. Tourism is actually the largest industry in New Zealand. The second largest is farming, and especially dairy farming. But there's a lot to do with renewable technology in New Zealand, which is pretty big. But obviously, there is so many different markets, so many different things. I think you can make money in anything. Constructions at the moment is really big as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there is really a lot of things happening here. So take your pick. Maybe you shouldn't look like, okay, what are the best kind of industry I should go into, but like, what are you good at? And so therefore you're going to be able to shine in, because you can I can decide to go in the building industry because it's booming right now, but I'm pretty crap with a hammer. So I can tell you I'm not going to make much money there.
Yeah.
So all right. Tom guy is asking one last question, and I leave you guys alone. You don't have to leave us alone. We're here for an hour, so you can stick around.
Yeah.
Maybe I convert my working holiday visa into a working permit for longer without departing from the country. I am a cook, and my job is in skill list. I thought this can work there. As mentioned, we do not have the right to give immigration advice because we're not registered immigration advisors. So I can't tell you if that's going to work or not. You're going to have to do your own research or contact a proper immigration advisor, which the list of the immigration advisor is on the Immigration New Zealand website. So you'll be able to do that with them. Or even you can ask Immigration New Zealand straight away.
Yeah.
Simple. Mohammed Ibrahim says, if I get an IT diploma in New Zealand, can I get a job offer in IT after graduation from a diploma, or the job offer is difficult to get? Thank you. IT is actually in very high demand in New Zealand, so you will be able to get a job quite easily. Now, it will depend on the company if they want to give you a job offer, because giving you a job offer means they also have to do some paperwork for you to get a visa for working, and that's a lot of work for them as well, so you have to be really good. Aside from that, as I just said to Tolga, we do not have the right to give immigration advice because we're not registered immigration advisor, so you will need to contact Immigration New Zealand or a registered immigration advisor. And the list is on the Immigration New Zealand website. All right, GSM says, yes, you answered it very well. What do you think about people? Okay, that would be my first time alone, so I'm afraid to be lonely. Does people are open-minded about discussion?
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. You never travel alone in New Zealand.
Exactly.
Certainly not.
Yeah, both of us arrived in New Zealand alone, but it was pretty much instantly you get meeting other people, and there's a lot of solo travelers in New Zealand, and usually they're they're the ones, like, people that travel alone are always open-minded and open to have discussions. So it's really easy to just strike up conversations with people if you're staying in a hostel and, you're meeting other people that are basically like you, like-minded, open-minded, to be traveling by themselves. And so, yeah, you can definitely meet people through hostels. You can meet people if you get a job and who you're working with. If you're doing any hikes around New Zealand, it's usually when that's where you meet other travelers as well. You often get speaking to people on the hiking trails or any of the other really awesome activities that you get to do around New Zealand. So, yeah, there's honestly, there's so much opportunity to talk to people. So.
In my personal opinion, there is no solo travel in New Zealand. It's a myth. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm traveling solo, and you're not. You're just with different group of friends every day, but you're never solo. From transportation, like hopping on a backpacker bus, to your accommodation, like a hostel or even a campsite, to all your activities from the hike and that, you are always surrounded with people. You're always going to make friends. So if that is one of your worry when traveling New Zealand, you can brush it off. You're not going to be alone at all. All right. Wesley says, Tolga found someone to marry to get the permanent visa. I think Tolga mentioned he had a girlfriend. So I'm personally thinking the girlfriend may have a problem with your solution, Wesley, but it's nice to offer. It's a good idea. The side of Viral says, what is the good or bad things about New Zealand? The good thing, it's an awesome country. The bad thing is very far away from everywhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
Dion says, is finding work harder if you're not completely fluent in English? You know what? I'm going to go through the couple of extra questions over there, and we'll actually talk about that for a little bit longer, because I think that's a very good question. Okay, so stick around, Dion. We'll be back to it in a second. Heshan says, hello, GM. Hello, good morning. Hello,
Oh,
good
yeah.
morning. Yeah. Is there any accommodation near Milford Sound? Which, okay, Heshan, yeah, I'm going to let you finish your question. I think it's not finished right now, but finish your question and we answer it afterwards. And then Loth say, I'm stuck on the grounds in section 9 where they keep human clones and they are watching me. I told you that was the case. I told you. I truly believe there are some clones somewhere. So yeah, you see, there is someone.
with them right now.
Yeah. Am I a clone? Loth, am I a clone? Please tell me if I am a clone and if someone is watching me. I think there are some people watching me right now, but I think that's the concept of this live session. All right, let's go to Dion's question. So Dion Van Duin, I have just destroyed that name. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation. Ask us on YouTube, is finding work harder if you are not completely fluent in English? All right, so that is a question that we get a lot. There are a lot of people which are coming to New Zealand with a working holiday visa, which allows young people from 42 different countries to come in New Zealand and work and travel for up to 12 months, in some cases 24 months. Now, that means that usually people are pretty young, and the age range between 18 and 30, in some countries 35 years old. So that means that your English is not going to be perfectly polished unless you are from an English-speaking country. So that means that a lot of you guys are going to be coming to New Zealand to work and travel. You need to work because you need to get some money to afford to travel. But the main point usually for people is to come and improve their English, which is what happened for me. When I started traveling, the main goal for me was to improve my English. And the best way to do that, honestly, it's not in the classroom. It's when you travel around and you actually practice it. So a lot of people get really kind of scared, like, what am I doing? If I don't speak English very well, will I still be able to get a job? Now, the first thing that I want to mention is that Kiwis are very, very forgiving. New Zealand is a country of immigrants, right? Almost everybody you're going to be meeting is going to be an immigrant. And so that means that people know how it feels to be in your shoes and maybe not be super comfortable with a different environment and obviously with speaking English fluently. So you shouldn't be stressed too much about how other people would react to you, or, like, would people think like you're dumb because you don't speak English very well? It's not going to be the case at all. So now one of the best thing you can be doing is to kind of think about your whole experience, your working holiday in New Zealand, in terms of like, how much you're going to be improving. You're actually going to be super surprised how quickly you improve if you actually put the work into it. Meaning that, let's say you're from France, like I am, you wouldn't be spending time always just with French people. Try to be friends with, Germans, Italians, Kiwis, and Americans, and English, and so like that. Your whole group has to speak English. So if you put that, and then at the beginning you're not going to have a great English, you can do work which don't really necessarily need you to speak very good English. You can do some farming jobs and those kind of jobs. At that point, you're going to be perfectly fine. So now, what kind of job? So we're going to go with steps, right? What kind of job can you do if you don't speak English very well?
Yeah, so an obvious one to go for is either working in the horticulture or viticulture industry, which is basically fruit picking or working on vineyards where they make wine. So these sort of jobs are more, you're not working on the front end with customers. You're not speaking to any potential customers or anything. You're basically doing the work that's sort of behind the scenes. And obviously this is a good place to, you're working with other workers who usually everyone's speaking English, unless it is just, usually when you get a group of French people together or a group of German people together, they kind of fall back into those habits. But usually at these sort of jobs, you have people from all over the world working together as a team. And then that's when everyone's speaking in English to each other. And that's a really good place to, where you don't necessarily need to have good English at this point, but you will improve by having a lot of English conversation with people. So anyway, that was just a long-winded version of the first job you can do. But yeah, there's lots of different types of jobs you can be doing. You can be working in the hospitality industry, doing sort of, cleaning services in hotels and in like hostels, holiday parks, motels, that sort of thing. You can also work in kitchens. There's a lot of like commercial kitchens, or even in cafes and stuff where, a lot of people, in the kitchens, they do need to communicate well together, but it's, again, not working.
Well, it's the same 4 words anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
We both work in kitchens in different places, honestly. And I worked in kitchen one of my first jobs with no English whatsoever was working kitchen. You catch the 4 words you need to know straight away, especially if you're a dishwashing boy or just a prep cook.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's also warehouse work and, moving stock, that sort of thing, laborious stuff. Probably construction as well then, with that train of thought. So there's a lot of construction work, particularly in cities like Christchurch, where they're doing the rebuild since the 2010 earthquakes, for instance. So yeah, construction is another one. And I'm sure there's more we could add to the list. But
so once you have done maybe like a couple or 3 months of that kind of job, then you are able to then move on to a job when you will be able to practice your English a little bit more. I still need to do that. So at the beginning of your trip, you're going to be doing a little bit of traveling, so you get to communicate more with people and improve your English. Then you're going to get a job which doesn't require you to speak English very much. So you're going to go pick some kiwi fruit or any other example that Laura just gave you. And then after that, you do maybe a little bit more travel, and then you pick yourself another job. And then at that point, you can get a job that will require you to speak a little bit more. So that may be front of house, meaning that if you work in a cafe, you are the person that actually, you're the waiter, or you take the orders. If you work in hospitality, you are the front desk, the receptionist. If you are working in a store, rather than being working in a warehouse, you are actually one of the salesperson on the floor. Just those kind of things where you're going to be able to improve your English much more. So that's personally the approach that I had when I was traveling around the world and I wanted to improve my English. And I feel like this method of kind of graduating from one to the other removed a lot of friction and a lot of kind of scare of like, oh man, I'm not, my English is so bad and I'm just not going to be able to do it. And so it gave me the confidence to be able to do that on my own. But if you are very, very, very stressed about your level of English, one of the really good things to do is when you arrive in New Zealand, most people arrive in Auckland, there are ton of English schools and English courses. Check yourself in for like a week or 2 of English courses. You're going to be with other students. You're going to be living in a hostel because, well, that's going to be the only way to kind of find accommodation for that courses. And you're going to be practicing a lot, both at the school and with your friend at the hostel and at the school, when you're going to do social events and everything. That is going to be really good to give you the confidence you need. And they're not that expensive. You can find like 2 weeks of courses for under $1,000, which, $1,000 New Zealand dollars for 2 weeks of English courses is pretty cheap. So if you do something like that, you will be able to just go straight away with like super confidence to be able to work in different jobs around New Zealand. And on top of that, you can put it on your CV saying that you studied English in New Zealand. And so straight away you'll be able to actually kind of get a bit better job right out the gate. Not that actually the entry level jobs are bad. I mean, I personally, some of my fondest memories were the jobs that I had when I was barely speaking English. To be quite honest, I really do love them. So yeah. But that give you kind of multiple options to kind of address this, because it is a stress that a lot of people have. Like, this is a big barrier from a lot of people. And but it's all about putting yourself in the right mindset as well. Like, before your trip, just stop watching TV in German or in French and start watching it in English. You put it in English and you put your French or German subtitle at the bottom. Just put yourself in this mindset of practicing English, and you should be really good. Now, we do have a lot of work tips and also travel tips on backpackerguide.nz, and everything is in English. So browse the website as well. The link is in the description below, and you'll be able to prepare your trip in English rather than preparing your trip in your own language, and then you're going to get started with that. And that's the last tip I'm going to give you, just because we want you to visit our website, because it's awesome. We put our heart into that stuff. Anyway, if that was useful, like and subscribe. And in the meantime, we're getting back to the live chat. All right, so what has happened in the meantime?
Heshan has finished his question about Longford Sound.
Cool. All right, so what is Heshan has finished?
So you start.
Oh, yeah. All right. So Heshan, he was asking a question. Let's just put it together. Hello, good morning. Is there any accommodation near Milford Sound which traveler can stay? Those are going who are going to Milford Sound. So there is very limited accommodation.
There is, yeah. So there's one accommodation, well, that's basically really close to Milford Sound, and this is called Milford Sound Lodge. This has some sort of, like, it has some private rooms for people to stay in, as well as some powered campsites. So if you're traveling around in a camper van, they do have sites for that as well. In addition to that, other accommodation is maybe about 45 minutes away from Milford Sound is Guns Camp. This is basically, yeah, it's a campground with some cabins. You can go camping there as well, obviously, and they have kitchen facilities. It's quite a basic accommodation, but that's another option. And then there's a lot of Department of Conservation campsites, which you'll find along the road to Milford Sound. But that, again, that's not really in Milford Sound. That's quite far away, maybe an hour or an hour or so away. And finally, another option to stay overnight in Milford Sound is that one of the cruises there with Real Journeys does an overnight cruise, so you can stay on the boat overnight. So that could be another option.
Easy as. All right. GSMKTU says another question, maybe a weird. Does eat a lot of vegetarian? Okay, so okay, vegetarian food, yeah, easy to find vegetarian food. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question, JSM. So if you want to maybe type it if we didn't understand. But I think you're asking if there is a lot of vegetarian option for food available in New Zealand, and yes, there is. There is really a lot of it. Laura and I are not eating meat really often, maybe about once a week, just because we want to save the planet. So yeah, there is a lot available in almost every cafe and restaurant.
Yeah, there is always at least one option if it's like really a dire situation. But on the menu, there will be at least one vegetarian option at every restaurant or cafe you go to. But usually a lot more options. And if you're in the larger cities like Auckland or Christchurch, there will be dedicated vegetarian restaurants there as well. Yeah. But yeah, you won't really struggle to find vegetarian food around New Zealand. And then there's also a lot of your standard vegetarian sort of things like food in the supermarkets as well. So yeah, being vegetarian is really not difficult in New Zealand.
It's pretty easy. Plus, you're going to save a lot of money because a lot of the meat is really expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so Loth is saying that the clones are in the sky watching everyone, and they are trapped underground and be maintained by the eye. Oh, that's scary. Well, I told you this happened. I knew it. I knew we were about to be overtaken by the robots, aliens, or clones. Tolga invites everybody to his wedding at the Sky Tower. Woo-hoo! Again, don't forget to send the invitation to your girlfriend. I think she's going to love that.
Yeah.
Okay, Amy K say, I've been wondering if I ought to bring my hiking boots or if a good pair of trainers will be sufficient. We plan on doing easy day hike, 3 to 4 hours duration, northern part of the Albert Tasman National Park. Okay, Laura's going to have a different opinion, but I live and breathe in my hiking shoes. I think you should always have hiking shoes. I think hiking shoes are the best thing in the world. They make just hiking so much easier. And if I have to choose between walking in trainers or hiking boots, there is no question in my mind. I always hike in hiking boots. I don't even think I own trainers. That's to tell you. Yeah. I either have like city shoes or hiking boots, and that's basically it. Now, Laura's text can be different.
Okay, so if that's literally the only walk you're going to do in New Zealand for the whole time and you're never going to need to use hiking boots ever again, then yeah, sure, why not take your trainers? But chances are that it might rain. You're going to get your feet wet in trainers. You know, the reason people mostly wear hiking boots is because hiking boots are generally better for the type of hiking that you do in New Zealand, where the weathers can be always different. There's different like types of trails and stuff. And it's just usually a lot more comfortable to wear hiking shoes or hiking boots when doing long walks. So if you do end up doing more walks and stuff, you will probably wish that you had hiking shoes or hiking boots. But if this is literally the 3 to 4 hour hike in the Abel Tasman National Park is the only thing you're going to do that involves hiking, then it's only 3-4 hours of your life. I'm sure you'll get over it if it gets bad.
I told you she would have a very different answer than mine, Amy. So are you going to be doing some other hike, or what other activities are you going to be doing in New Zealand, Amy? Just let us know in the comments. Dion say thank you for the great answer. I really appreciate it. Well, you're very welcome. We appreciate the fact that you just joined us in the live session. And Chinkita says thank you for the explanation, guys. You're very welcome. You're also very welcome for the fact that I actually screw your name up every single time I try to say it. I'm very sorry. GSM was talking about vegan food, so that's good. We got it right. Mustafa is asking if we are married. You can put a ring on that. She's a free woman. What? You waiting into so no, we are not married. Dion says, is it safe enough to go hiking on your own? Most of the tracks are very well marked, and I'm guessing that you're not going to be going tramping, i.e. like on the tracks which are the most remote and which are not well marked or marked with just really small sign on the trees. I'm guessing you're going to go to like main hiking trails. And the hiking trails in New Zealand are very well signposted and very easy to follow.
Yeah, they're usually very well marked. They have the gravel surface. There's basically a government organisation in New Zealand called the Department of Conservation, and a big part of their job is to maintain the hiking trails around New Zealand, because New Zealand is really into hiking and into the environment and the landscape. So the Department of Conservation and the hiking trails that they do is a really big part of your New Zealand trip. So they maintain the hikes really well. They're super easy to follow. There's usually if you go for the sort of main trails which is most likely what people do when they travel to New Zealand, you're going to see other people along the way. So it's not really going to be it's not going to be dangerous to do it by yourself. I've done loads of hikes by myself. Robin's done loads of hikes by himself. It's a pretty common thing in New Zealand.
Yeah, even multi-day hikes. I mean, almost every single time we do multi-day hikes, we meet a lot of people doing those multi-days, like even some like 6 or 7 days just by themselves. It's so well marked, and I don't think you're going to have much problem with that. So don't be scared about traveling in New Zealand. Wesley says, I've never been to New Zealand more than 1 month. I'm afraid about the lack of cultural spot, except in the North Island with the Maori culture. But instead, I will go meditate next to the sea wild animals and snorkeling, a future Kaikoura's inhabitants. And by cultural spot, he means theatre, museum, exhibition, and cinema. Well, you've got to come to New Zealand for the landscape and the wildlife, not for the culture. I mean, it's my personal opinion. The Maori culture is rich and fascinating, but it's not something that, that you're going to go to theater and cinema and everything to see. So once you've experienced it and then you live and breathe it throughout your life in the country, right? But it's not something, I don't think you have much. I lived in Auckland for a wee while. I went to the theater about like twice. I went to cinema 2 or 3 times. In Auckland, you go to the Academy Cinema, by the way, $5 Wednesday. It's very cheap. If I can give a big shout out right here, so otherwise $20 a ticket. So $5 Wednesday at the Academy Cinema in Auckland Central. There you go. But I don't think the culture is not that great here. If by culture you mean theater, museum, exhibition, cinema, there's a lot of little museums, but it's not something that you go again with new exhibition all the time and everything like that. Even the large museum like the Te Papa Museum or the Auckland Museum, they have a new exhibition every 2 years. Yeah, but then even the temporary exhibitions end up being there for years and years and years. So it's not really New Zealand's not really the place for